Good day, good day. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jay, and this is Homeschool Yo Kids podcast. Uh, Before I start, I've been doing this little grown-up thing. A little shout out to Homeschool Yo Kids Expo. Make sure you check out our schedule for the year. We are traveling to 14 states this year, and we're so excited to come to a city near you. So be sure to visit our website, homeschoolyokidsexpo.com. And major shout out to one of our sponsors, Classical Conversations. Check out them for your curriculum needs and homeschool support. All right, and let's get to it. Today we have with us Tamara. Tamara, introduce yourself.
Hi, I am Tamara Mayo. I am the founder and CEO of Homeschool Heroes. It's a nonprofit organization and newsletter that basically champions heroes and leaders such as yourself in the homeschool world and offers resources and tools for us poor parents that have so many questions as we start on this homeschool journey. Oftentimes we feel so alone. We don't know where to start. We don't know what questions we even should be asking. And we don't know where to start opening our arms to grow our network. And we definitely need that. And so one of the goals with Homeschooled Heroes is to not only provide that network and to answer some of those questions, but to also be the cheerleaders and to really like broadcast the amazing things all of you guys are doing in the homeschool world and making our journey so much easier. We thank you. It's our way of saying thank you.
Oh, nice. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So Homeschool Heroes. How long have you been homeschooling?
Wow. My son is 10. So, and I've been homeschooling him since 2. So let's go with 8 years. And
Yes.
my daughter is 7 now. So I've been homeschooling both of them, I want to say for over 4 or 5 years, because I started my daughter pretty early too. While I didn't start her at 2 like I did with my son, she
Mhm.
started pretty early, about 3 or 4. So
Okay. So what set this journey on this way? What made you say, you know what? We're gonna bet on us. Let us do this.
I like how you said that. We're gonna bet on us. I think one of the issues that especially as a mom of color, first of all, I'm a single mom, but as a woman of color, a Black woman, one of my biggest concerns with raising 2 Black children, a young Black son and a Black girl who's going to be a woman one day, is that how are they going to be treated in education? Because I was
Mm.
always, quote unquote, one of the smart kids in the public school system. But I always noticed that no matter how hard I worked, I wasn't going to get as far as my white and Asian counterparts, only because there were only so many slots for the exceptional Black kids. We only got so many slots. So if you're gifted in honors, but there's like 8 of us, we're essentially 8 of us are fighting for one slot.
Mm.
I already knew I didn't want my daughter and son to go through that. But then I also started to notice the changes in the public school system. I don't know if it's, and I am an anti-capitalist at heart, so I try not to blame everything on capitalism, but I do feel like money started to affect what was going on in the school system. I'm old enough to remember we had arts and music. Like I remember specifically there was a designated time of the week where we had to go and meet with just an art teacher and we only learned art things, or we had to go meet with the music teacher and we only learned music things. And then I specifically remembered when they cut funding for that from public schools and the big debate of how that was going to affect the children's intelligence. We are now watching that. We're seeing that in action, right? Okay.
Mhm.
That's just one example of the things we started seeing being taken away and just weird things happening in how our kids were being taught. And I'm like, I feel like if I send my son into the school system, he's not going to have a chance. And let me say my son is special needs. He was diagnosed with autism when he was 7 years old. It's still something that I struggle with. I don't I'm a lifelong learner, Jay, but I
Of
believe in
course.
if I don't know something, it makes me anxious. And so everything that I don't know about autism and ASD, and he's level 2. So he can't really, like, I don't trust him around teachers, if that makes sense. My son does his own thing. He's a beautiful spirit. He taught himself to play the piano. He taught himself art. He taught himself all the things that make him blossom, you know? So when I saw that the public school system wasn't offering that, it's like, well, why am I going to send my kids into that? My daughter's, I believe, a certified genius. Why would I send her into a system that's going to hold her back or put her in the same space I was in? And so I kept having knots in my stomach the closer and closer it got to him turning 5 and me deciding, am I going to put him in public school for real? Because we're doing good. At 2, 3, and 4, my son could read. My son could write. But it didn't change the fact that I wasn't a certified teacher. And you have those questions of, am I going to hold my kids back? Am I somehow hindering them? But then I was like, I kept looking at that public school system, the mass shootings, the school shootings happening. We've got a Congress that won't do anything about it. And I'm like, every single time there was a school shooting, I just remember I'd sit back and look at the news and say, thank God, Mike, I don't have to worry about it. Thank God I don't have to think about that. And the culmination of all those things, when it was finally time for me to fill out that notice of intent and send it to the superintendent and let them know, no, I've got this. I'm betting on me. It was all of those things wrapped up as I looked at my elementary school that's right up the street from me and my kids. And when we go on our daily walks and our experiential walks, and I'm teaching my kids escuela, because they also learn Spanish. And they can learn Mandarin. We have that freedom to learn everything the public school system didn't teach us. And they look at that building and I tell them, Mommy went to that school. And I can tell you, you're learning so much more than what Mommy learned when she was in that school. That let me know I'm okay betting on us. Every time I hold any kind of program or event and these kids come out, I'm glad I'm able to contribute. These teachers are doing the best they can. I'm not knocking public teachers. They're doing what they can with what they've got. And they are up against a system that is stripping them every year blind. And the only ones that are suffering from that is our kids. And it's not fair. So anytime us homeschoolers can throw our hat in and help them out, it's the community as a whole that benefits. But I saw that deterioration like we all did. All of us homeschool parents, we all saw the same thing and made that decision. And that we share the same why, I think. And we knew we could bet on them or we could bet on ourselves. And we knew we were a better bet.
Ooh, girl.
I didn't mean to start serving. I did not mean to get all there's just look at this soapbox up under me that's like this high now. Sorry.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, you said it. You said a lot. As a former teacher, I used to always talk about or talk against, I guess, the No Child Left Behind Act that was established in 2002. And I used to say that was the worst thing that happened to public school. And people were looking at me like, what? Girl, no, we need standardized tests. We need this. We need that. And I'm like, no, I think that really did some damage. Like all the children have been left behind ever since.
My mom is actually a retired teacher, Chesapeake and Portsmouth Public Schools, right? She taught in James Hurst Elementary, I want to say. That was the reason she decided to leave the No Child Left Behind, because when she was seeing kids who could not read, my mom's the type where she's like, no, I'm gonna hold you. No, you're gonna stay behind with me and I'm gonna work with you. I'm not gonna just let you not read. Like what? But when she was being told by the administration, you've got to pass them. And she was not passing them, but they were still just going on. That was the first time I think she felt defeated and felt like, oh, well, what am I doing this for? Right. And I remember her saying to me, Tamara, this No Child Left Behind thing, watch what happens 10 years from now. She said, watch the adults that come out 10 years from now. And you are absolutely right. That is what made my mom retire. Like she was like, no, I'm not going to be a part of this nonsense. I will not. And I'm thankful that she helped me in our homeschooling. And so even though she's retired, as she says, I'm
Mhm.
retired. She steps in. She's a big reason why my kids can read, because one of the first things she
Nice.
put me in was, she said, Tamara, they are going to learn to read via phonics. She's like, I don't know what of this newfangled stuff. She's like, I don't care what this newfangled stuff is. She's like, phonics and sight words work. You do them in conjunction with each other, Tamara, your kids will both be reading. And both my daughter is, like I said, 7. She skipped first grade. Like, she's in second grade. She's supposed to be in first, but she's in second grade. She reads on like a 4th grade level. My son, he's in the 4th grade and reads on like a 7th grade level. Keep in mind, I told you he's autistic, right? Yeah, but still reads. And both of my kids hate reading. I need to preface that. Like, I have to punctuate this. I'm a publisher. I make books. I help writers, and my kids hate reading. It
Not my
hurts my
children's
heart
favorite
because I love to
subject
read,
either.
but
Right?
I don't care as long as you can read. My attitude is, you don't got to like it as long as you can do it. And
Yes.
my mom has been a big staple in that. And I really believe that the teachers we're losing in the public school system, we need to find a way to net. Like, we need to like get a way to like fish them in. We need to find a way to gather them and bring them in. Otherwise, this is talents lost. These are skills lost. My mom, a retired teacher, is the hugest reason why my kids can read. I feel like if we could find more ways to bring in these teachers who have lost hope, who have kind of lost their fire and are just like, I'm done with this system. You know what? There's a new way. You don't have to do it their way. Escape out of that and let's come over here and because the kids still need you.
Yeah.
The community still needs you. What
Yeah.
you don't need are those strict parameters and that craziness that they're doing. You're still great at what you do. And I think as a homeschool mom, that is one of the things I also want to, we want to make sure we champion over at Homeschooled Heroes is, teachers, we hear you. I wouldn't have known that Gen Z and Gen Alpha can't read if not for them coming out on YouTube and being willing to admit it. I mean, like, these kids can't read. Thank you.
Talk about it all the
That
time. I
that
had
makes
12th
me
graders, I had 10th graders, I had 7th graders, I had all the grades that, and no, it's an epidemic. It's a national crisis that I've had that described in that manner. In a lot of times, the literacy rate in America is a national crisis that is being ignored big time, big time. But yes, no, I love what you're saying as far as the passionate teachers that, they don't want to go somewhere else because they're passionate are the kids. Like, it took me a while. Like, if the shutdown hadn't happened, I'd probably still be in the classroom because I love my babies. Like, I love my students. I love being there. I love being their light. I love tearing up right now. But I love them. Like, it's not even
go
past tense.
ahead.
I still keep in contact with a lot of them. Those are my babies. Like, those, those, I still have
See,
work from them. I've
can
been
I tell
pulling
you
out.
something, Jai? Because you got me about to tear up. We remember y'all. When you are a good teacher, it does not matter how many decades go by. I remember my kindergarten teacher. I remember me and my mom might walk somewhere and somebody will walk up to her and be like, Miss Mayo, oh my God.
Oh,
And they'll be like, you were my second grade teacher. Keep in mind, girl, this was all the way back in like 1990, 2000s, okay?
yes.
And my mom would be like, yes, hi girl, how you doing? Hey. And they'll walk away and I'll be like, Mom, who was that? She'd be like, I have no idea. But the clear joy on that person's
I
face. And
know.
I feel the exact, like when I talk about my teachers that changed my life, I always say, I know y'all don't remember me. I say, y'all don't remember me from a can of paint. I know you don't remember
It's
me.
just so many. It's just so many. Okay.
But you touched me. You changed my life in a way where you're here forever. So I tear up. You should be
Girl.
tearing up when you talk about your babies, because I tear up every time I do a speech and I talk about something. When people are like, why are you so dope? I'm like, you can thank this teacher from Booker T. Washington High School. You can thank Miss Chappelle from Lake Taylor Middle School. You can
Yes.
thank Miss George, my kindergarten teacher. You could thank Dr. Davis, who used to do drive-bys on my papers in AP English. And to this day now, I'm one of the best editors you'll ever find because I don't play. It's little things like that you remember. Like my vocabulary is on point because Miss Chappelle in 6th and 7th grade would write words on the chalkboard like crestfallen and clique and, you know, these really words that we weren't being used to seeing. And you look back at it now, and as an adult, I'm like, those were major building blocks of my life that I didn't even realize. Like, so why can't we do this? Why aren't we doing this with the kids? Like, we know the value, we know the power of it because we are living witnesses of it.
Yeah.
We are standing here able to say, no, me getting that in 6th and 7th grade is what made me this.
Yeah.
So now I know I owe it to my community to give it back, especially if we're looking at literacy or rather illiteracy rates that we're facing. Like, I've always believed there was a huge conspiracy to dumb down our nation so that we could be easier controlled. But we don't have to let that happen. We are the first line of contact and defense in our communities. It's about us getting out there and doing it, but let's not do it alone. Let's come together like Voltron, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Gundam, all of them.
I know.
Any amorphous animals that come together into a larger body of something, I'm here for it. So
I know the division is so real. And that's why I like to use this platform to also always remind teachers, like, just because we speak on a homeschool sense, please don't ever think that we're taking away from the passionate teachers that have, like you said, changed. My 5th grade, I always say 5th, but I really feel like she was my 4th grade teacher, Miss Crawford, is the reason why I entered the classroom at all. Like she made that much of an impact that even though I stopped agreeing with the system when I was in 8th grade. Like I had checked out of school, like literally checked out in 8th grade. I slept my way through high school. I was still an average student. I did the bare minimum, so my mama would stay up off me. But I had checked out in 8th grade, but I still wanted to enter the classroom because I needed to make kids feel how she made me feel, which was seen and heard. And I was determined, and that was because of her. And like that's why you could talk on Miss Chappelle, you could talk on your kindergarten teacher. I feel that, and that's why I never want teachers to think that this is something that we needed to be divided in. It should always be a partnership with parents. It should always be a togetherness as far as the home and the school. And that's where we need to figure out how to bridge that gap, because it should never be oh, this is school and you just at school. No, honey, this is a partnership. This is a community. This is a village. And we all need to work together. So that's why I like the emergence of micro schools. I feel like they're so much more intimate. I feel like they give teachers who don't want to be in the regular school system. It gives them an avenue where they can go and still, hone in on their passions, because teachers are born. They really are. Like it takes something different to go in there and make the bare minimum and work the most hours and then have people talking about you getting paid over the summers. It's just craziness. But
well, I don't even understand why people talked about that or why that is. This is why I'm just like, our country, this is why I say it was a conspiracy to dumb down people and take away critical thinking skills. These were the things that I watched get pulled out of public schools, and they didn't do it all at once. It was done so slick, it had to be a plan where they were doing it little by little, making sure we were distracted with other things so that we didn't really notice. It was just like a little subtitle in the news. It was just a little tagline in the news. We didn't really, but people lost critical thinking skills where you're willing to defend a billionaire that doesn't care about you and is actively stripping you of things you need, versus the teacher who just spent 10 months not only teaching your child, but taking money out of their own already meager paycheck to buy supplies and things for your child and for the whole classroom. That this school that has millions of dollars, trust me, as a business owner, and we have to do contracts with the public schools, so we know how much money they have in the budget. We know what they're dealing with and working with.
Yes, ma'am. Oh,
so we're like,
please no.
You can pay your teachers more. You can.
Yes,
so
I was about to say
that they get paid over the 2-month break that they have off.
And it's their money. That's the thing. It's their money. It's us saying, hey, we want to get paid over this time. So divvy up our checks and give us our money over the summer so we can still have money. It's not extra money.
It's
It's
not
not
like it's extra money
funds.
coming out of a pot.
But you spoke on something that I always say is schools don't lack funding. And that bothers me when people think like, oh, schools are, they don't have no money. No, they have money. They're just not doing what they should do with that money. You have superintendents making 6 figures. You have people downtown, all these 6-figure salaries. But the teachers in the classroom, mind you, the people, okay, I'm not going to do this, but mind you that the people in
I'm handing you my
downtown,
soapbox. Here you go.
most of them haven't even stepped inside of a classroom.
Right.
That are making these 6 figures. Most of these haven't even been around kids. These are people who are going and looking at books, looking at statistics, looking at whatever it is that they're looking at, and then going to vocalize their opinions, their thoughts, their theories based off of paperwork, not work in the field. So that's, girl.
I mean, I'm glad we're having this conversation. These are the things that need to
needed.
be said.
Yeah.
And this is part of the reason why, like for me, I call myself an anti-capitalist, but I also call myself Robin Hood, like a modern day Robin Hood. I am a true believer in like robbing from the rich and giving to the poor. Like at some point, you don't have to give me reparations. I'm gonna take it one way or another. That's my attitude.
Yes.
Like so when you talk about how you checked out of school, I checked out of school in 5th grade because I already knew it was some BS. The one thing that saved me was reading. I was constantly reading. Like I was a voracious reader. Anything that they tried to teach me in social studies or history, and I knew it had that Eurocentric slant, I would just traipse my little behind down the Norfolk Public Library. At the time, it was MacArthur Library, and I would just read up on it myself. MacArthur Library was too small, by the way. Anybody listening to this? Way back then, taking y'all back down memory lane. It was not the awesome Slover 5-story Slover Library we have right now in Norfolk, Virginia, in downtown. This was a little tiny 2-story MacArthur Memorial Library. Books were limited, and it was by the hood, so that should tell you something. But books were limited, and back then, the Virginia Beach Public Library was always a better one, the Central Library. I remember that. And I would beg my mom to take me out to that library because it had more extensive books, more history, just more facts, right? So the only reason I was able to pass things or challenge the teachers back or have even the smallest semblance of interest throughout middle school and high school is because it almost became a challenge to me, to the teachers. Like I was always getting written up and always getting thrown out of class because they said I would talk back too much. I was always challenging them on the things they said, the things they taught. So it became almost, okay, you just taught me this, so I'm going to go to the library and I'm going to read up on it. I'm going to come back tomorrow and I'm going to challenge you on what you just taught. And that was my career through middle and high school. And so I'm thankful that you and I, all of us, we kind of got that enlightenment where we saw, you know what? We do need to, something needs to be done. Like, there's no reason kids should be checking out. The fact that we were like, I'm not interested in the way you're trying to feed me knowledge, so I'm going to go get it myself. That's the same mentality I feel like we need to keep applying as we build these networks and we build these bodies with each other. Because this is our village, this is our community, and this is our infrastructure. We're going to be the ones that get to make the rules here and decide, okay, you don't want to teach our kids 4 languages, but guess what? I got time today, cuz. You don't want to teach our kids about business, but guess what? We got a whole team. All of these local businesses around here, we're bringing them all in as subject matter experts. Yeah. All of these other teachers that are out here that left the school system but still want to teach, still want to work with kids, they're all coming on board. By the way, quick shout out. We're doing a children's business fair this July, which is going to be so great. And this is why I say, and this is what we're going to be talking about at your Homeschool Your Kids Expo on February 1st, you guys, make sure you tune in and be there. but it's about the importance of partnering up and getting your tribe together and co-oping. I would have never thought that Homeschooled Heroes would do the children's business fair. We didn't want to do it by ourselves, that's for sure. First thing we said is we want to bring in some subject matter experts. So we were able to team up with curriculum agents who are also on with the Homeschool Your Kids.
Yes, Miss
So you see
Keisha.
what I'm saying? So I want y'all to understand what I'm saying here as I'm talking. I'm explaining to you about how bodies can come together to form something bigger, to do something greater. And we said, okay, well, beyond the children's business fair, what I brought them was my vision of, hey, I'd like to do some learning workshops, like separate from the children's business fair. I want us to host like some workshops where we're actually like for an hour sitting down, teaching the kids about business aspects, logos, business plans, but we're like, bringing it down to their level where they can walk away with actual deliverables, where they can be like, oh yeah, I kind of started my business today. I might not do anything with it yet, but at least I've got, the logo and the idea. And at 6 years old, maybe it's not something they do now, but maybe they revisit it at 9 or 10 or 11. They're like, oh, I remember this paper that I did. These are the types of things that we need to start doing. We need to start doing it consistently. And we also need to start finding out ways to make the government pay for it. Telling y'all, I'm tired of seeing teachers and us independents and us nonprofits bankrupting ourselves because we don't have the knowledge with regards to procurement, logistics, and RFP writing. We've got the programs, we've got the events. The government got the problems. Our events and workshops are the solutions to their problems. We just got to go in there and make Uncle Sam pay. They're going to run these reparations money one way or the other. That's my attitude. I'm not kidding. It's all about the knowledge we get. And that's what I'm thankful. That was my whole point when I started, when I said, I also checked out, but I'm thankful that it was books and reading books and gaining knowledge in things that are very boring. Taxes and procurement and logistics and stupid things that, why at 14 years old was I reading this? I don't know. Because I'd already read the fiction books, but we got it. But even now, I'm still having to read this stuff. This isn't stuff I mastered as a kid. I'm trying to master it now because I see the value of it. Now, imagine if we can gift our kids with that type of stuff now, what they'll be 30 years from now. That's all I'm saying. Let's not do it alone. I'm glad we're not. We got to come together like Voltron. We do this as a fist. As one body. And it's a beautiful thing seeing it all come together. And I thank you for everything you do because you keep our fires lit.
Likewise, like, girl, you don't see how ignited you got me at the beginning of this conversation, girl. Energy is infectious, okay? And that's why I love having these. The podcast is a must. Like, this is a must because y'all are my fuel. Like, y'all are my get up and go, my continue. Like, oh, girl, you are not doing this alone, okay? Know that there's people out here doing the work, and I talk to y'all, and I hear from y'all and collaborate with y'all, and I'm grateful for each and every one of you. I really, really am, because y'all have no idea how much of the change you're being. And then your voice and your presence is enough for someone else. It's going to spark. It's going to spark. And I don't care if it's just one person that is sparked, two people that is sparked. The spark is there. And then that will go on and spark someone else, then spark someone else. Because that's how this works. Like, that's how it goes. You have to walk in it first. People ain't trying to hear you talk about it. They want to see you doing it. Right. That's what they want you to show, not tell. Okay.
I needed that. That last line you just said, I received that one because that pertains to another project I've got going on. And I was like, I'd been feeling very fearful with regard to that. And just like that, when you said that, the boldness came. Just,
yes, love.
They want to see you in action, girl. Boom.
Keep
and I was like, oh, okay. All right. Boom.
Yes, ma'am. You got this. You got this. You are doing this. And I love it. So we're going to calm down a little bit.
I know.
So how has your journey been? Your homeschooling with your two geniuses over there. How has the journey been? What does your day look like? What is the schedule? Do you use curriculum? Like, walk us through it.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, I would have to say a 9. I will say that I have certain things at my disposal that maybe other parents don't have, which is why I really want to make sure I can share with other parents. That's right. I do have a retired teacher at my disposal. I live, my mom and I, we live together. I take care of her. So when she's not like feeling like sick or laying down or whatever, and she's up for it and she can get up, she comes over, she teaches the kids, or she assists me with teaching. So I have someone who's like, hey, Tamara, she was able to supply me with a list of like, here's what the kids should be learning in each subject for each grade. Now, do you have to follow this, Tamara? No, you don't. It's just a marker so that you get some kind of idea where it's like, okay, he's in 4th grade. He should kind of be getting into the fractions and things like this. Like, I appreciated having that. So my day, because I work from home and I homeschool and my son's autistic, our day has to be very structured. Like it can't be different. And thankfully his therapist, his occupational therapist, she made these great like this board where we can put his stickies up. So we start off the morning, they've got to, get ready, eat, wash face, all of that. Then they sit down and they eat, because I do believe you can't do school without eating. They figured out that trick, my friend, and they have figured out that if they delay and they don't, like, if they don't want to go to school, they'll try to delay the eating. That's the whole point. They figured that out though, but they do have to eat first. I believe breakfast, like, it's important. It's important. It's the most important part of the day. That's just me. Can't help it. Kids, you need to eat. So they eat their breakfast. And then we sit down and we do homeschooling, believe it or not, classroom time for 1 hour. And I know people might be hearing this and be like, what? Yes. We used to do it when we were in public school for what, 7 hours a day? It felt like a full-time job. Child, I was already checked out.
And didn't retain nothing. Yes.
Didn't retain
7 hours and
anything.
didn't get
No.
nothing.
I already know what I want my kids to learn the next day, and I already have their worksheets. I already have their things ready for them. So the night before, I've already been on my computer scanner, printer, printing out all of their worksheets. They usually don't do more than 3 or 4. And the way my son is set up, he has to have it where he does schoolwork for about 15, 20 minutes and then has to take a 5-minute break, because that's just how his mind works. My daughter, on the other hand, she wants to just hurry up and get through it. Like, let me finish so I can get back to doing all of my STEM stuff, because she likes doing science projects and she likes to play Minecraft. Okay, cool. No problem. As long as they get that 1 hour of classroom time in, we're good. Then it's my time where I can sit down, do my work from home thing, all of my businesses, doing those things. Usually at about 2 o'clock-ish. That's when we have everybody gather in the living room. It's language learning time and reading time. We read a book and we listen to either a Spanish CD, Mandarin CD. I don't feel like the kids are ready for Korean, but my son somehow found it on YouTube and he plays the song all throughout here. So he's been picking up on Korean. I just can recognize the song. And I'm like, oh, okay, he's doing the Korean song now. Okay. So he'll get it before the rest of us do. And then after that, it's quiet time. That's usually around about 3:30, 4 o'clock. Kids need the quiet time. I do remember that from public schools. I remember they used to make us lay down on the mats. I enjoyed that time. I did.
Right.
I did. And I wish they'd have continued it throughout. Like, why do you stop it at kindergarten? Let me have my quiet time in 5th grade. Give me a minute. Like, okay, all right, y'all, it's quiet time. Go sit over there. If you want to go lay on the yoga mat, I don't care. But everybody just shut up for like, okay. But my kids, they do, that was just a joke, you guys. It was a joke. We don't tell the kids. But no, and then they just have their quiet time just to decompress. They don't have to go to sleep. Sometimes they take a nap. Sometimes they just lay there and look at a book, look at their tablet. I don't care, as long as you're laying down.
Right.
Oh, and I meant to tell you, they do get lunch before that. They do get the lunch before quiet time. So Spanish language reading time, and then after that we get lunch. Lunch comes in usually around like the noonish, 1-ish time. And then after that, I kind of just leave them to their devices. Like my kids are at that age where they like they've already been conditioned into everything we do is learning. Everything you do in life, you're learning. So usually my son, he'll come back into his room and he'll start playing with magnets. He's in that mode right now. He likes building things with magnets. And then my daughter, she will usually do something like STEMmy. That's another thing where I'm like, I love the idea of like so many homeschool heroes emerging and so many groups and organizations emerging. I recently was able to put my daughter in this STEM camp just for girls. And I was like, this is amazing. Like my daughter was able to make a whole new group of friends, be around all like have all these new projects. Her self-esteem went up. I was like, we need this in our life again. So my goal, I'm like, now I got to find 5 more of these programs just like this. But I don't want to do that alone. There are people out there who already know those programs and can just tell me, hey, Tamara, this one. Like, that's what I mean when I say, let's come together and share. Let's throw all this information into one big pot of jambalaya, homeschool info jambalaya. I feel like my days are still somewhat hectic. Like I try my hardest. I don't want you guys to think that I have it together over here. Like as you're listening to this, I do not want y'all to think, oh my God, she has just got it together. And I don't no, there are some days my kids don't wake up until 10 a.m. and the day doesn't start then. There are some days where they do not feel like doing school at all. And I have to chase them through the house. There are some days where I don't feel like giving them school. And I'm like, you remember those days where the teacher would wheel the VCR and TV?
The TV.
It's like, yeah,
Today.
one of those days. All right, kids, sit down. We're going to watch this homophone YouTube video, this video about homographs and homophones. They'll be like, we already learned homographs and homophones, mommy. You're going to learn it again. Just sit down real quick. Mommy's got
Reinforcement.
we're just gonna revisit it. We're just revisiting it. You have those days sometimes where you're like, I am not prepared today. All right, guys, y'all are gonna be doing a lot of coloring. You're gonna do a lot of STEM work today. This is hey, who wants to make their own popsicles? Who wants to make their own lollipops? We are about to learn something new. But other than that, it's good. Like today, because it's snowing outside, I'm going to be teaching my kids about so civic law is never going to be fun. You can't, but there's a law in Norfolk that says you have to shovel your sidewalk. The law. You have to. And so I'm going to go outside with my kids in the snow and I'm going to shovel the sidewalk. And of course, they're going to ask, why am I doing that? I'm going to explain to them about municipal laws and the city laws and the laws in your community and how they are meant to try and help each other and help protect people. And I'm going to explain like, hey, if I don't do this, somebody might slip on the ice when they're walking today and they might get hurt. And we don't want that. But they're not going to have any sit down classwork today. Like my mom was like, are you going to test them today? And I was like, nah, we're looking at like looks like 2 feet of snow out there. I'm like,
yes.
Not doing anything except coziness.
Yes. Sitting still, honey. Sitting still. Trying to stay warm.
Right. Well, I mean, the point of my spiel there was to remind every homeschool parent out there, you don't have to adhere to any strict requirements. You do what fits you. Do what works for you. Once you find that groove, settle into it and be confident and walk in it with your whole chest. You don't owe anybody anything. You don't owe it to anyone to do it the way they do it. You don't have to try and quote unquote impress someone else or look good for anybody else. This is about making sure your kids learn, understand, and master things in such a way, and they're consistently being exposed to it in a way where they're always practicing it and they're incorporating it into every part of their life. So this is why I say, like right now, my kids are crying because they haven't been out into the snow yet. Okay, like we listen, it is what it is. Like I knew for a fact when I looked at that snow outside today, I was like, these kids aren't gonna have school today. They're not. And I feel no guilt about it.
As you should not.
But it doesn't change the fact they still can't learn today. Does that make sense? And I think that's,
Mm-hmm.
as a homeschool parent, you have to break yourself out of that conditioning that came from the public school system, that there's this very rigid structure and way that we have to learn. It has to be sitting at a desk. It has to be between the hours of 8 and 3 p.m. And it has to be with these particular books and questions being asked and assignments being assigned. And it literally has to be this way. And it has to be every day. And if you don't, you have failed. And I was able to find that that was not true.
Yes. No,
And as I
not even a little
see,
bit.
and I'm exposed to so many other homeschool kids, and I see how happy they are, how they're glowing, they are exuberant. They have their innocence still. They're still kids. Like we work with public school kids. And I'm like, these kids are grown. Like these kids are
And sad.
and sad, and they're breaking them. These kids. I'm like, y'all talk to. I was like, y'all got grown people problems. How y'all got grown people problems and you 7? Hold on, let's back up. You talk you not supposed to have an old soul yet. So it breaks my heart, which is why I do so many of these events and programs and workshops, and we reach out and make sure, like, because we remember those days, and it's like, we wish we had that. We wish we had this. We wish somebody had done that for us. We wish someone had created this program for us, but they never did. And that time is gone. But we're here now, and we can give these kids what we didn't have, because we know 20 years from now, they're going to remember it.
Mm.
And that was that.
Yes, ma'am. That was it. Yeah. So y'all flow, but you have a schedule, but you flow. You flow with it. Look, you read the room. Look, you read the room.
Yeah, and my main thing is, even going into this, I made the decision within my heart and within myself. I said, if my kids can lock down the 3 R's, and I know that sounds mad old school for those of y'all who don't know what the 3 R's are: reading, writing, arithmetic. And y'all are like, writing is not spelled with an R. That's an old school joke. That's an old school joke. The 3 R's: reading, writing, arithmetic.
I'm with you on that.
So
I'm there with that.
as long as my kids have that foundation, I'm good. Like, my kids can count. So now I can move into time and money, where I'm like, all right, you can count, you know how to do multiplication. Now here's the application of it. Can you tell analog time? Because that involves you having to count multiplication by 5.
Mm-hmm.
Can you count out and tell me 25 cent in nickels? Can you tell me how many quarters go into $1? Like, this is where we start needing to apply it. Because, honey, in life, this is what you're going to need to know. And here it is. Like, it's happened.
Yes, ma'am. I love it. I love it. I love it. So you are creating the curriculum. You are finding you, because I know you say, the night before, you already know what they need. You print off worksheets. You're doing this, you're finding this curriculum. You don't have a set like a box curriculum or a book or anything like that.
So I use a mixture of different things.
Okay.
I use Adapted Mind. Bear
Okay.
with me. I'm going to put in my battery charger real quick, because I don't want this to shut off on us. But
Okay.
I do use Adapted Mind, just for the math portion, just a supplement. And I also use, there we go. I'm back in business. Girls are back in town. Yeah. So, I also, here's one thing, because I'm not rich. Okay. Listen, I run a traditional publishing house. My authors do traditional, as in money comes from the publisher to the author, never from the authors to the publisher. My authors do not pay my publishing house for anything. So I am not rich. And that being said, as a homeschool teacher, if I see things at the Dollar Tree, if I see things at discount bins, if I see any type of worksheet that deals with what we are currently doing, phonics or otherwise, money, time, I don't care. If I see it says 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, it does not matter. I'm scooping it up, and I'm going to hold it, and I'm going to have it, and we're going to re-reference it. So I would say, like, I'm familiar with the different curricula that's out there. And I think for new parents that are just kind of like, hey, I'm not really sure what's going to work for me and what's not, definitely try those out. I got my degree in computer information systems. My mind works a little bit differently. And I'm very much that type of mom that just wants my kids to have that freedom to learn. So I'm like, as long as you can read, write, and count, I'm good. Because we've just opened up the doors of the world to you. And that's it for me. So I'm like, what do you want to do? Whatever you want to be and whatever you want to do, mommy's going to put it in front of you. And right now, I still use that guide map that my mom gave me. So I was like, okay, my son's in 4th grade. Okay, this is where he should be at in science and math, and this is where he's supposed to be at in social studies. I will admit, I struggle with the history, and especially in being in Virginia, in the first slave state, the history, and I don't want my kids learning a Eurocentric history. So when it comes to like society and history, my kids are not all the way there yet. I feel like I'm still kind of protecting them against that. I am always open. This is why Homeschool Heroes exists, because I'm always open to curricula that will be Afrocentric, but also world-centric. I want my kids to learn about the world, but not through the European lens. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Like if it's a Black person that's like, yeah, I'm about to teach you about Spain, I'm about to teach you about Portugal, and I'm about to teach you about China, we can do that. I think what I'm trying to separate my kids from is that bias that we were exposed to when it came to learning about the world, because it was through a very biased lens that still left us feeling very like closed off from the world. And we see that now to this day, where other cultures and countries, they can speak several languages. And here we are still, we are literally the cultural melting pot of the world, but we only speak one language. That is an issue. So.
And it's wild that America doesn't see that as an issue. It's so funny. I tell bilingual people all the time, because I'm in Arizona, I call this little Mexico, how intelligent they are. Like, to be able to go between 2 languages simultaneously. Like, do you know what kind of brain power that's using? Mind you, I took like 4 years of Spanish, like 2 years in high school,
Thank
two
you.
more years in college, and I still ain't got nothing.
Lingo.
I am on Duolingo right now with Morgan. Me and my 8-year-old are learning Spanish together, okay? Because I didn't get it. I didn't see the value in it. Nobody really told me about the value in it. And here I am living in whole Mexico right now, and boom, can't speak nothing.
That part. I had to learn the hard way when I was in California, and I became a 911 dispatcher, and I was like,
oh, wow. Hold on, let me get somebody.
Un momento, por favor. All I know is puedo ir al baño, because that was what I used to say at the beginning
The bathroom
class. May I go to the bathroom? Because that was her rule. Her rule was like, if you ask it in Spanish, I'll say yes, and you can have it. I'm really glad that never backfired on her, by the way, because we did have some boys in our class, but thankfully, maybe she was just gauging the fact that like they would never take the initiative to learn anything that would make me have to say yes to anything crazy they asked in Spanish. Yeah. I think that's what she was gambling on, and thankfully she won that gamble. But her rule at the beginning of the class
was,
it in
2025.
You couldn't do that in 2025. You could not. These kids would have been jumped in the chat BT asking her all kinds of crazy. Yeah. So anyway, but that was her rule. And so the first thing I learned how to say was, may I go to the bathroom? And I would just ditch Spanish class all throughout the year, but I would turn in my work so that I'd still have an A in the class. Now I'm sitting here mad at myself because I don't know Spanish. I've been in California for all these years, still don't know Spanish. My son's half Puerto Rican, still don't know Spanish. I'm like out here just struggling.
Yeah.
And you know what? Part of me feels like it's harder for us to learn it now because we didn't learn it. Because let me tell you, when we were in kindergarten, and this will be my last story I share before because I feel like I'm boring you to death with all my stories.
No, girl, no.
My teacher, Miss George, my kindergarten teacher, a Black woman, I will never forget this. In Florida, you guys. Where was this? Jacksonville, Florida. She taught us how to count to 10 in Spanish, just out of the blue. When I was able to get up to Spanish class in high school, that is what I remembered. Like, it's still in my head. I know for a fact the things we teach our kids between the ages of 4 and 7 will stick with them for the rest of their life. And had we been taught how to speak several languages between 4 and 7 in the public school system consistently, like every day, where we're going in there, having to write it out, speak it out, all of that. By the time we graduated 12th grade, we could have been fluent in 4+ languages.
Definitely.
But they didn't want that. So this is why we parents have decided to homeschool. We know the conspiracy we're up against. We know they could have done this. They just didn't want to. Well, now you have to ask, well, why didn't they want to? Oh, they want to dumb us down? Well, why do you want to keep us dumbed down? Now the only thing we got to do is fight back by making sure our kids are not dumbed down. Yeah. And so
continue to produce those critical thinkers. Continue to let your children have an opinion. Continue to encourage them to do their own research. Continue to just support them in being advocates for themselves and understanding their voice matters.
Yes. Couldn't have said that better if I tried. When do I get to interview you now?
I know.
I'm just messing around with.
I appreciate you. Okay, before I let you go, though, you have to tell us a little bit more about Homeschool Heroes, because you gave us a brief intro.
Yeah. But
let us know some more about the work that you do.
Yeah. So I encourage, if you are an educator, teacher, homeschooler, I encourage you to come into the site. If you are a small business owner that somehow deals in learning, workshops, education, we need you. We want to know about you. We want to know who you are. We want you to sign up. It's free. You're just literally letting us know who you are, because what we do on our end is we do the heavy lifting, where we send out your information via newsletters and mailings and clippings. We make sure that we get the funding that's necessary so that we can send those mailings out and you actually get them at your house and can see them. I want you to be able to see Jay and her organization, like open it up and look at it and know. But we also want to make sure that, because for me, it's like a trifecta. So we've got the educators, we've got the parents, we've got the kids. So we also want to share our experiences in homeschooling. So we invite parents to come in and share and talk about things that have worked for them and what hasn't worked for them. If there's been somebody who's just been stellar and has done something incredible in your homeschooling world, come on and brag about them, cheerlead them. This is our space where we get to just blow the whistle, like Too Short. We get to just blow the whole whistle and let everybody know this is it. Like, you guys deserve to be celebrated, and people deserve to know who you are and about you. And yeah, it's just, that's literally it. It's like the pot for the jambalaya. It's the jambalaya pot where everyone gets to just throw all of their stuff in. I want to shout out this person. I want to shout out this person. I want to share this program. I want to share that program. I want to share this event we've got coming up. I want to share this person that you might not have known about. I want to share this website you might not know about. Yeah. So you guys, it is homeschooled, ending with ED for education, homeschooled heroes.com. And that's for you guys. You guys are the heroes, including the kids that we are going to be sending out into the world. Those are also our little homeschooled heroes.
Yes, I'm gonna definitely make sure I go up there and put myself up there. And
Yeah.
a lot of my other compadres, all my other friends in the homeschool world, because I've definitely made some wonderful connections. And they definitely deserve shout outs. So I appreciate that platform and I look forward to utilizing it. So you basically are providing resources and showing what all is out there.
Yes, as well as because I don't want to just provide the resources, like because there are so many of y'all already doing that, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. So as a like, I have an innovative mind in the sense of I'm like, how do we go above and beyond that? Because I already know that there are people out there with the resources. So my goal is to bring you the person who has the resources and say, why are you not connected with this
Connected.
person? Why do you not know about them? But I can't say that to just one person, Jai. I got to say it to thousands at a time. Otherwise, I'm wasting my time. So I'm
Of
like,
course.
but also, I don't want us to feel alone. If there's nothing else I want to get out of this, because in the homeschool journey, when you start off, it can be so scary and you can feel so alone here. I want them to be able to come to a place and see smiling faces and support and knowing like we're in this with you. Like we're stumbling and falling too. Like nobody is perfect at this. Nobody's got this down to a science. Okay? Like we're here to pat you on the back and give you high fives and let you know like we're in the same boat as you. As a matter of fact, we went through that problem. Here's how we resolved it. Because so many of
I
us
love that.
we'll like jump to different Facebook groups, we'll jump to different Instagram, like we go all over the place, right? We'll go everywhere. And sometimes I don't I don't feel like that's efficient.
Mhm.
Sometimes we just need that database or that place where it's like, if I punch in this and I got all of this back, that's I can do this. Now this is something I can work with. Because that was my issue. And it was why I started Homeschool Heroes, is because I would go into like Facebook groups and be looking for a specific answer to a specific question, but I would find myself searching for hours just all throughout different groups. And it's not because the answers weren't there. It's also because like you find yourself going down a rabbit hole, like
Yes.
good information. Be like, oh, wait a minute, let me look at. All right, but as someone who's like really, really efficient when it comes to her time, I feel that way about other parents and my fellow peers, and I want us to be able to get to the answers that we need. So, and also, like I said, get the support that we need immediately. So whether it is toolkits and resources and downloadables, those are available too. But the real value is pointing you to the hundreds of people who have already created those. So you have that right there at your fingertips. Like, boom, here you go. Like, I can easily make toolkits for you. Cool. But how about we shout out these 5 people from
That
5
already
different
doing it.
websites who've already
Yes.
done it? And let me show you this video of us using the toolkits so you can actually see in real time what it's like and a real live testimonial. This is like real life. Like, that's what I mean when I say we want to take you on the journey. We want to show you like this is authentic. This isn't us just talking about things. This is us showing you like this vendor, this person, this product, this toolkit, this resource. We're using it, and this is how it looks when we're using it. Here you go. Here's a video. So I'm excited. I've been excited to share my kids' journey for a while, and I thank you. I thank people like you for making our paths a lot, just a little bit easier to traverse. I really do.
Indeed. And the gratitude is extended to you as well. And I'm gonna let you go because I know those kids want to get in that snow.
I
But before I
know.
let you go, I know, girl, and it's cold out there. Make sure y'all layer up. Um, 3 things that you would tell new homeschool families who are transitioning into this lovely homeschool world. Just 3 things you would want them to take away from here, if nothing else.
Hmm. Okay. The first thing I would tell you is separate yourself from the conditioning we went through in the public school system. That is a very powerful conditioning we went through, you guys. You do not need to be afraid to step away from standardized, like what we did growing up. You don't need to be afraid to step away from that and try something new. I say that because that way of thinking and that way of learning, it almost made us doubt ourselves. It almost raised us up to doubt our own skills and abilities when it comes to learning new things and doing new things and mastering new things, as well as teaching others. Because you were taught, in order to be a teacher, you have to be certified. And if you ain't certified, don't even step into this realm. If you aren't certified and haven't gone to school and done this, you don't need to be up in here. And so I want to say that's the first thing to parents, is that's not true. You are your child's first teacher, and you need to step into that and embrace it and love it. The second thing I would say is these kids are naturally inquisitive, and they're going to learn whether you want them to or not. So you need to put in front of them what you want them to learn.
Wow, you better say
If
it.
you leave them to their own devices, I assure you they will learn. So you decide what you want them to learn. There's a reason I put my kids in front of PBS and all of this stuff early. My kids have no idea. Like the stuff these kids nowadays watch, my kids don't even know it exists. My kids don't even know about the stuff.
I love that.
My kids are kind of corny. Like, I'm not even gonna say it. They're kind of cornballs. Like, they're kind of, but yeah, I bring them around other kids, and the kids will ask them, "Do you know about this? Do you know about that?" And my daughter be like, "No, I never heard of that." But
They're so fortunate.
so you, as a parent, decide what you want them to learn. My kids are learning Spanish. My kids are learning Mandarin because that's what I'm putting in front of them. My kids are learning about STEM things where they're in there like with their white lab coats on and doing all kinds of science experiments because I'm putting that in front of them. That is going to be the same with your kids, and be consistent with it. Okay. Like, kids love consistency. And the last thing that I would say is you've got this. You're going to doubt yourself so many times through this process. I'm not even halfway through. Okay. My kids haven't reached middle school. They haven't reached high school. I have no idea what to do about prom and all this other stuff. I'm glad we were able to get through the kindergarten graduation. Okay. All right. So no one has all the answers. So what you got to do is wake up every day and tell yourself, I got this. We got this. Go back, reminisce back on your school days. Your teacher didn't always know everything. They didn't always have it. They didn't know. But one of the good things that I loved about my most confident teachers was even when they didn't got it, they showed their confidence never wavered. And that's something I think we as parents need to instill in our kids. It's okay to not know something. You're not going to know everything. We are lifelong learners here. But guess what? We got this. As long as we can read and we can write and we can count, we got this. We can learn anything we want. All right. That's it. I'm sorry.
No, those are great. Those are great. Yes. Because you do got this, parents. You really do. Trust the process. Tap into the resources. Understand that support is there, and this is not something you have to do alone. Like that is the point of this platform, for you to be always constantly reminded of how many resources there are out there, how many advocates there are out there, how many coaches, how many, just everything that you could think of needing. There is someone that's providing it, and they're happy to provide it because it's their passion. It's something that it's driving them, a driving force for them. So tap into it always. Check out homeschoolheroes.com. Check it out and tap into some of those resources. Definitely. But always and forever,
Yeah.
homeschool yo kids.